We want our team to win so bad. So many of us have teams. So many of us have this idea of winning. So many of us just really, we think politics, we think football, we think all kinds of things, and we're are constantly rooting for our team. I want my team to win so bad. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. There's nobody like, I should say nobody, but there's very few, or should I say, very few people out there that want their team to win as much or even more than me. I'm one of those guys that I'm for you. You're on my team, my Wire Differently team. I'm for my family. I want my family to win. I want the Detroit Lions to win. I want my political affiliations to win. I want my team to win so bad. A lot of us are in this same position. I know you are. I just hung out with a good friend for 3 days. His name's Mike Conley, and we jumped in his rental car, and we took off for LeBeau. I think it was LeBeau, Pennsylvania. It's just a suburb on the east side of Pittsburgh, and we drove this rental car. 5.5 hours there and 5.5 hours back, 11 hours. He drove, and we did this trip like buddies. Yeah, I got some friends, right? My wife's my best friend. I spend most of the time with my wife and coworkers, but I've got some friends, and Mike's one of those. And he says, he's a faithful Steeler fan. He has faith in the Steelers. He has faith that if he just cheers for them loud enough, if he follows them close enough, if he studies the trades, if he studies the coaches, if he really, I'm in the same boat. I'm not the number one Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I am a Mike Conley fan, and I count him as someone on my team, and I want Mike to win. And we don't line up everywhere, everything all the time. But when it comes to football, we have this mutual love affair with the game. He is a Pittsburgh Steeler. I call him a sycophant, and I am a Detroit Lions sycophant. We love our teams. But I do care about him, and he wants to go to the Steelers practice camp for 3 days. So we get in a car, we take off for 3 days, and I immerse myself in Steeler Nation attire, and I go to the practices, and it was amazing. What an amazing culture of winning, trying to win, being part of winning. Mike wants his team to win so bad that he truly believes that if he doesn't go to camp, it hurts the chances for the Steelers to win. He believes it. He also believes, because I was there firsthand, if you're not there at 9 o'clock when it starts and you don't stay to the full duration of the 2.5 hours of practice in the sweltering heat of 95 degrees and purge yourself of any water or any if you don't suffer like a player on the field, then you're hurting the chance for the team, because he is part of the team. He is part of the fan base, and part of the fan base that is on the field in spirit with these players, right? I'm the same way when it comes to the Detroit Lions. It's not a situation where one is one way and one is the other, but I've decided that I want to support my friend Mike. So I go to this Pittsburgh Steeler camp, and I immerse myself, I adorn myself in the Steeler Nation. And I got to tell you, what a tradition they have there. What an amazing story the Pittsburgh Steelers have to tell. I left there thinking, man, Nobody can beat the Steeler Nation. I left there thinking, I'm a little bit a part of the Steeler Nation now. Man, I want my team to win so bad. And so Mike kind of gave me 3 days into the window of someone else who looks at things similar to me in winning. He gave me a window into his political affront. He gave me a window into his life. He was vulnerable, and he shared things with me in his business world and even his personal life. He gave me a window into clearly his love for the Pittsburg Steelers. And I just found myself falling in love with like him and his beliefs and his mindset and his commitment with the fact that he wants his team to win so bad that he would go to these great lengths, just like I would for my Detroit Lions, just for like I would for my family or for my belief structure or my wired differently. And I look at this whole mosh of people and believers of this idea of winning, this idea of faith and works. Faith without works is dead. We've heard that in the Bible. And today I wanted to kind of talk to you about, we want our team to win so bad. We go to extraneous things, extraneous prayers, extraneous push-ups, extraneous lengths, heat, deprivation of water, maligning of some fans that were not really on the same page with us. It's like whatever it takes to win. And the background is embroiled with the political changing of the Kamala and the Biden and the Trump and the JD and all of this is swirling until we get to the field. And it's just the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where are you going with all this, Todd? Well, I just want to rally you in the fact that we want our team to win so bad. We forget what our team really is. We forget who we're rooting for. We literally lose ourselves to the game of life. We lose ourselves to the politics. We lose ourselves to the Steelers and the Lions. We lose ourselves to a lot of things, and we drift away, and we really find ourselves rooting for things that we don't even understand what we're rooting for. I mean, I found myself rooting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I had one friend out there, believe it or not, playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Mike would give me his binoculars, and I would say, where is Austin Killebrew? And I'd get the binoculars out, and there it was. And there he was down there, number 28, man. Such a cool dude, and he was a special team guy, and he's awesome. And, he's on my team. He's on my team. Actually, he was a Detroit Lion, and then he became a Pittsburgh Steeler. But the team that Austin Killebrew was, that I found myself zeroing in on the field. I found myself constantly looking for Austin, and he wasn't really in the action a lot because Miles Killebrew. Miles wasn't really in the action very much. He was kind of moving around, and he was in special teams. Man, Miles is some kind of hero to me. He's a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's running. He's on that team. He is like part of that team I want to win, but it's not the Steelers that I'm really rooting for when it comes to Miles Killebrew on the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not really Mike Conley who I'm really rooting for when it comes to watching the team play. It's not really the coach who I met, Mike Tomlin, at dinner the night before. Who it's not literally Mike who I'm rooting for. It's not Dan Campbell who I'm rooting for. It's really, what is my team? And so what I want to talk to you about this morning is, what is your team? What are you rooting for? What is this thing all about? I want you to think about how hard you root for so many things in this world. so many teams, so many ideas and values and beliefs. And I think we get lost in those when we really, really need to be understanding Apostle Paul and the team he was rooting for constantly. The OG of teams. The first team of all time, the greatest of all time, the only team to root for, the only team to really understand what's going on here. And I look through the binoculars and I see my man Miles Killebrew down there, and I realize to myself, it's not the Pittsburg Steelers that Mikey's rooting for. It's not just maybe as much as Mikey or I'm rooting for that day, but Miles Killebrew is a Christian warrior out on that field. And if you would ask Miles Killebrew, what is the team that he wants to win more than anything in this world? And I can guarantee you he's going to say Jesus Christ. I met him at the Super Bowl. I hung out with him for 3 days. I spoke with him. I've texted with him. I talked with him. He's an amazing man. He's a Christian believer. And the reason I'm picking on Miles Killebrew right now is because it's this transition from we really want the Steelers to play well. We really think that if we're at the game, and we really think if we're at the practice, and we really think if we're depriving ourselves from water and lotioning up and staying in the heat, just like those players, that our belief structure, our faith structure, our will for them to win will leave our body, go in the field, get in those players, and take us to the Super Bowl. But that is not how it happens. The only team in this world, this wide and differently immersed Christian culture, Jesus Christ believing world, that works that way is the Christian faith. Second Timothy 4:7. I mean, that's really what this whole monologue or diatribe or whatever you want to call this this morning is about, is which team are you really rooting for? I mean, we're all rooting for our team to win, but I think we forget that we're at the Pittsburg Steelers games and practices for 3 days, and we're watching all these players, and it's all fun and games, and everybody's happy, and there's nothing wrong with it. But at the end of the day, I'm like, what team am I really, really, really rooting for? Detroit Lions? Yeah. My friend Mike Conley? Yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers? Sure. They're in the AFC. We're in the NFC. It's all fun and games till we see him in the Super Bowl, right? But who's Miles rooting for? His paycheck, I'm sure. It's Jesus Christ. It's this belief structure that God has laid before us. It's this faith in him. And the Apostle Paul wrote so many of the new chapters or the New Testament books. And it's amazing what he had done for this world and through his life. And in this particular verse, 2 Timothy 4:7, he says, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. What team are you rooting for? What is the Apostle Paul? What did he give his life for? What is all of this all about? And so the transition I want to make to you here is from this sycophant world that I live in for the Lions, and I engaged in with my good friend Mike Conley, in this world and politics that you can see people blood boiling, raging of the Republican and the Democrat and the conservative and the liberal. My team must win. Well, my team is Jesus Christ. My team is God. And I'm going to transition into a little conversation about 2 Timothy 4:7. And push us into Monday of next week. Thank you for having me back today. I took 3 days off to travel and have this mojo going with you this way. But we went to dinner. I got to tell you, the first night we got there, and as we sat down to have dinner and rest from our travels or weary 6 hours travels, we had I think some onion rings and horseradish sauce. We didn't eat well at all. And at the end of the meeting, at the end of the meal, we had a waitress. She was very good, very kind. And we tipped her and everything. And as we got done tipping, she goes, you should go over there and say hello to Mike Tomlin. Those of you who don't know, Mike Tomlin is the head football coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's got 1 Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. And every year he thinks he's going to win the Super Bowl because he wants his team to win so bad that we feel like we can will these things to happen. And that's how we do it. That's how it starts for sure. But I remember thinking to myself, man, Mike, let's go over and see your favorite coach of all time, Hall of Famer, Mike Tomlin. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's been there forever. He is a legend in this community in football and NFL. And Mike just kind of like froze. He's like, listen, man, I don't know. And the idea of Mike having like literally like 20 yards away from him, one of his this worldly people that he looks up to so much, so nervous to go meet this man. I thought to myself, man, what is it about the leader of this team that makes Mike so tight, so nervous? Why can't he just walk up to this leader and just say, how you doing, Mike? Why can't he just walk up to this leader and give him a hug? Why can't he just pierce this air between us and walk up there with amazing confidence and just say, Mike, how are you? What is the fear there that allows someone who holds someone of such high esteem like Mike Tomlin? What is this cavern between an amazing man like Mike Tomlin is epic when it comes to football coaching in that world, and Mike Conley is epic when it comes performing at the donut capital of the world. Mike Conley is so good, so damn good that I named the stage after him, the Mike Conley stage. But why is it that Mike can't walk over to Mike and say, how are you, brother? Nice to see you. You go win that Super Bowl, damn it. Mike Conley didn't feel as if Mike Tomlin would accept him. That's my perspective. Why else? Mike Conley, my mind has thought about this a lot, and I love Mike Conley, and I know he's going to listen to this, and I love you, Mike. But there's a piece of you that was afraid, not of fearful of a man or anything, but there's a piece of you that didn't want someone so high esteeming in your life to reject you. You didn't want to walk up there and have him look at you and say, what are you doing bothering me? Can't you see I'm having dinner? What do you do bothering me? What are you doing? Who do you think you are that you can just walk up and say hello to me? It's my perspective. That's how maybe I think I might feel with somebody that's in that position in my life. But I think Mike Conley is better than Mike Tomlin. I'm a big Mike Conley fan. So I said, Mike, we're going to go meet Mike Tomlin. We're going to march our tails right over there, and I'm going to say hello to him, and he's going to say hi to you, and he's going to know who the heck Mike Conley is, because Mike Conley is a fierce patriot of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He needs to know Mike Conley. So I get up from my table and I walk down the row there. I take a right-hand turn, and there he is, Coach Mike Tomlin, sitting by himself, sitting with some other reporter guy or something. No one else in the room. They had their own. The place wasn't very busy and it was low key. It wasn't a problem. There wasn't camera. It was just two men chilling, just like any other time. And I could feel Mike Conley on my tail. And as I marched about 20, 30 yards on my way to see Mike Tomlin, I had my wired differently crossed shirt on, and there was nothing going to stop me from getting Mike Conley with Mike Tomlin. And I could feel Mike Conley behind me when we came up from our table, right up on the rear of me, just a little bit tighter. And as I got closer to Mike Tomlin, I could feel, my kinesthetic sense could feel that Mike Conley was drifting behind me a little further and a little further and a little further. It didn't dissuade me, though. As I saw Mike Tomlin, he finally turned around and he saw me somewhat coming at him in a positive gait. And I remember coming up on Evander Holyfield in the Atlanta airport at one point in my life, and I remember how the ice broke so easily, I just smiled. And as Mike Tomlin looked at me and I looked at him, I smiled. And I said, "Hello, coach," and reached out my hand. And Mike Tomlin looked at me and smiled bigger than me, reached out and shook my hand. And I said, "Coach, this is my good friend, Mike Conley. I want you to meet him. He's an amazing, great fan. He wants the Steelers to win." Mike Tomlin reached out and shook Mike Conley's hand and said, "Nice to meet you, Mike. We're going to win." And I said, "Thank you, coach." And I said, "See my shirt? God is good." And Mike Tomlin looked at my shirt, and he looked at my friend Mike and his friend Jay Glazer, who was sitting next to him at the table, and then looked back at me and he says, "You bet your ass. God is good all the time." Mike shook his hand again, and I said, "Thank coach. Go get him." And we left. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. 2 Timothy 4:7 is our verse today. I want my team to win so bad. Mike wants his team to win so bad. Mike Tomlin wants his team to win so bad. But here is the deal. Here's the culmination of the story this morning. Here's what I'm trying to say when we get right back to it, right? When we are looking at people, we are looking at winning, we are looking at these earthly things. I think sometimes we forget that the team that we're rooting for is really not the team that we're rooting for. I think if Mike Conley thinks really deeply about what this message is about this morning, and people that are listening here right now really think deeply about our idols in this world and people that we look up to. Some of you look at me, some of you look at Coach Tomlin, some of you look at a guy like my father, some of you look at the president, some of you look at the presidents to be, some of you look, we look at these people, but when in fact the team that we're rooting for takes precedence over the team that we really should be rooting for, is when things get twisted and they get turned upside down. And what came to my mind was that during this entire process of Mike Tomlin and Mike Conley, in this whole process of we really want Pittsburgh to win, and as we take our team thoughts over to the head coach of the team could either say, "Yes, sir, I love you," or "I don't have time for you." One of the two are going to happen. And what happens to me and what happens to Mike is this culmination of the most beautiful thing that could have ever happened, right? 1 Corinthians 9:24 says, "Run the race to win," right? Galatians 6:9 says, do not grow weary in doing good, for we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. If we're running this race and we're looking for winners and we want our team to win so bad, and we get a little bit dissuaded, and then we go to the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers and we say, how you doing, coach? We want you to win. And he shakes our hand and he says, you bet your ass God is good all the time. I'm going to tell you right now that the team Mike Tomlin is rooting for is not the Pittsburgh Steelers. The team Jay Glazer is rooting for, sitting right there agreeing with him, saying God is good, was not the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not. It's like we lose track of our brains and our minds, and we like get this whole thing of like this going on, and this Republican and this Democrat and this football team and this soccer team and this thing going on in my business and everything. But really, the team that we're rooting for is the team that Paul is fighting for. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have finished the race, so I have kept the faith. My team is winning. My team has already won. So you bet your ass God is good all the time. A little heated up there. I want you to get to wireddifferently.com. I want you to get to wireddifferently.com. I want you to go there and look for your team shirt, your team, your faith, your team, your belief structure, your verse, your Wired Differently shirt. I want you, listen, I say the same thing after every show because I really want you to immerse yourself in some fashion as much as you would for your Detroit Lions or your Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, why not wear your faith on your body? Your unshakable faith. Why not put God on your body? You do Adidas, you do Nike, you do Champion, you do Hanes. You put everything on your body, but why not God? Why not Christ? So I want you to put this on your body. I want you to get your shirt at wireddifferently.com, your hoodie, your long sleeve tee, your sweatshirt, your t-shirt. Now, I just want to give a real quick shout out. September 1st, we're going to be having the first Labor Day Lake Life Revival right at the donut capital of the world. John Bruni's going to be performing. We're going to have worship music and band. It's going to be a great time. Those people are going to be baptized, and I want you to be thinking about getting there at 9 o'clock to start the worship at September 1st at the donut capital of the world. Thanks, everybody, for this message, and I want to give a special thanks to Mike Conley for driving all the way down to the Steelers Nation's training camp and giving us that experience and helping me understand that really, you bet your ass, man, God is good all the time. And that's the team that Mike Tomlin's rooting for, and I'm rooting for, and I believe Mike Conley is rooting for. God bless you guys. Have a very good day.